New details emerge about the suspect in the Las Vegas Cybertruck explosion as police reveal letters left behind by Army soldier Matthew Livelsberger.
This is an excerpt from that letter. He says, fellow service members, veterans, and all Americans, time to wake up. We are being led by weak and feckless leadership who only serve to enrich themselves. This was not a terrorist attack. It was a wake-up call. Americans only pay attention to spectacles and violence. What better way to get my point across than a stunt with fireworks and explosives?
Our next guest, former Green Beret Tim Kennedy, knew the suspect and is shown here with him. They both competed in a military-style reality show. He joins us now. Tim, thank you for joining us. First off, I just got to ask you, it had to have been pretty wild for you to have seen the story and the news coverage of it, and then to look at pictures and say, oh my gosh, I knew this guy, I've met this guy.
Yeah, it took about 36 hours, honestly, about a day and a half into it, when more photos started emerging as to what he looked like in some photos from earlier in his life, 10 years, 15 years ago when I knew him, before I was able to put it together. And I was just flabbergasted. I was left speechless. I couldn't believe it because I really enjoyed the time that I got to spend with him. And I found him to be incredibly competent and talented as a special forces operator. And man, I was floored, to be honest. I didn't know what to do or say.
Anything, and I realize you obviously you didn't stay in touch with him over the years, but anything that you remember particularly about his personality that strikes you as particularly kind of hard to wrap your brain around?
Yeah, Charlie, start to finish, categorically, the guy was a great dude. He was fit. He was a good shooter. He was a good communicator. There's 5-6 events that we did in this reality competition show, mostly based around soldier skills. And in every instance, he was seemingly a great person. None of this checks out. On the Special Forces side, he was first a Special Forces communications sergeant, and then an intelligence sergeant, and then ultimately an 18 Zulu. So he went through kind of every single one of the checks and balances. He was a talented Green Beret, and sounds like everybody liked to work with him. So none of this makes sense, and it's so heartbreaking. I truly hope that this is a wake-up call for service members to make sure that we're checking in with each other right now. But it's so heart-wrenching.
So you guys are Green Berets. You're the absolute best of the best, and I guess that's part of the reason why this is all so shocking to those of us watching this, and especially people who know Green Berets. What did you make of those letters?
Yeah, they seemed unhinged. His current standing was one that he is a good soldier, and then kind of clearly in a few months leading up to what happened in front of the Trump Tower in Las Vegas, something broke. Yeah. And they're very scary letters to come from somebody that is so talented in so many different things. The selection process for Green Berets is arduous, and they're very, very particular, and very rarely do you see, of course, there's going to be bad apples, but this doesn't seem like a bad apple. This seems like somebody that was hurt or broken or very scared. And, I've been at a loss for words for the past day and a half.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of us are. Tim Kennedy, thank you for your service, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah. Thanks, Charlie. God bless.
Do want to take you back to the top stories that we are following this morning, and this is one that we've been watching closely. As you can see, that video provided by Las Vegas police. An Army soldier who fatally shot himself inside of a Tesla Cybertruck just days before it exploded outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas left notes saying it was a stunt to serve as a quote-unquote wake-up call for the country. The information revealed Friday by the Las Vegas Metro Police Department. The department revealing Matthew Livelsberger, a 37-year-old Green Beret from Colorado, also wrote in the note that he needed to, quote, cleanse my mind of the lives lost of people he knew and, quote, the burden of the lives I took. Police added that Livelsberger harbored no ill will toward President-elect Donald Trump despite committing the act on New Year's Day in the valet area of the Trump Hotel. Do want to discuss all of this here, so let's bring in Sal Lafriri, the president of Protective Countermeasures, a security firm in New York, an expert in security and terrorism. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Good morning, Josh.
Good morning. Well, first off, I do want to talk about that letter that the Las Vegas Police Department did detail there. They said that he said that he wanted this to serve as a quote unquote wake up call, but also that he harbored no ill will toward President-elect Donald Trump, despite all of this happening right outside of the Trump Hotel in Vegas. So based on your expertise, what do you make of all that?
Well, I think first of this was just an absolute tragedy, and I know there was a lot of attempts to make connections between that and New Orleans, but I think in and of itself, it's a tragedy when you look at what's happening with American military personnel. I think the current status is about 22 military members commit suicide a day. And I think as we get deeper and deeper into the investigation with this, I think we're going to find that a gentleman was suffering from some mental issues that really needed to be addressed. And I think we'll find out over a period of time that those were the issues there.
And going a little bit deeper into that, I did want to kind of get your take here, as we know that in New Orleans, that was labeled a terror attack. The FBI at first said it wasn't, then they changed their tune and said it was. We heard from the mayor in New Orleans that it was a terror attack. Does this classify the situation in Vegas as a terror attack by definition?
By definition, it would qualify with the use of explosives and trying to make the public statement. But traditionally, what we see as traditional terror attacks would be something that would be religious or political based. Something along those lines would make it more of what we would traditionally consider a terrorism event on its face by sheer definition, which is an incredibly broad definition. Yeah, it could be considered a terrorism event.